Magazine. With me today is Dr. Neil Gaiman, the winner of this year's Ray Bradbury Award from the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America for his script for Doctor Who. When you were starting out as a journalist, did you ever think you'd wind up writing scripts for something which I believe is as much a part of British childhood as Captain Kangaroo is for American children?
No, I genuinely didn't. I never thought I'd get any of this. I think when I was a journalist, as far as I went in terms of hopes and dreams was the idea of maybe one day getting a fiction book published with my name on it.
And you did that pretty quickly.
I did. I got there fairly rapidly and then got to do all the other things I'd wanted to do, like get comics published that were decent.
Well, they were more than decent.
And it then took me a little while. And then, of course, by the time that I was getting published, Doctor Who was off the air and stayed off the air for almost 20 years. So once it came back, I fell in love with what they were doing with it and was thrilled when they invited me to maybe come and play on their sandpits.
It's always nice when somebody invites you. How did you get into comics? The Sandman is such a classic now. I mean, not only is the story and the way Western and Eastern mythology are woven into it something rather remarkable, but it's one of those few books that basically, or one of those few works, I should say, that did something remarkable. They took comics off the book when you won, I believe it was the Hugo?
World Fantasy.
World Fantasy.
They made it so that comics could no longer win those awards, military awards anymore.
That sort of is rather remarkable to me. Do you feel like, do you want to go back to comics, or I guess, what do you want to do now is the big thing. I mean, you're a novelist, you are writing scripts, your novels and your stories have become wonderful movies. You've done a groundbreaking comic, writing scripts for Doctor Who. What do you want to do next?
Everything. I want to carry on doing everything. I want to do more everything. There's stuff that I haven't done yet that I'd really like to do. I'd like to do a musical that works. I'd definitely like to do some theatre because I really haven't done much theatre. But mostly I just like to carry on doing everything. I like the fact that nobody seems to mind. I'm allowed to do kids' books, and I'm allowed to do adult books, and I'm allowed to do comics, and I'm allowed to do drama.
Other than the fact that they all have your name on it, what do you think is the thematic thread that binds your work together?
I have no idea. I don't worry about it. They all come out of my head. What I'm desperately always trying to do is go, okay, I'm not going to repeat myself. I will go and do something different. I'll go and do something new, and then academics and critics then gather and say, well, this fits in exactly with the rest of your canon, and it has the same themes. And I go, oh, bugger, I wasn't actually trying to repeat myself. So I'm the worst person for going, what are the themes? Probably there is a celebration of the human imagination involved. Beyond that, and the power of story.
Definitely the power of story.
You know, beyond that, your guess is as good as mine.
I have no guesses. I'm just asking the question. Speaking of academics, though, you recently received a rather unusual honor. I mentioned Dr. Neil Gaiman from a university in Philadelphia, I believe?
The University of the Arts in Philadelphia. I did their commencement address and found myself getting a doctorate 2 days ago.
How did it feel to be wearing the academic robe?
Like a fraud. Like an absolute, utter and complete fraud. But I've now hung around enough academics to know that they all feel like that. So the fact that I get to feel like a fraud, it was the glory of giving my speech was beginning. You know, I never
feels like a fraud at one point in their life. And that frequently impels you to do more.
I hope so.
And what are you working on now? Because I know your fans want to know.
What am I working on now? I'm working on the pilot episode of American Gods. I'm working on
It's going to be a TV series?
for HBO, yes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I'm working on, well, if they like the pilot episode. And I'm working on a book called Letty Hempstock's Ocean, which is a very small book about a girl called Letty Hempstock who has a pond in her garden, which she says is the ocean.
Oh, well, it might be by the end of the story if your stories run true to form.
May well be.
May well be. Anything you'd like to add to your fans?
No, I'm just so... Writing a Doctor Who episode, if you're me, and you started out watching Doctor Who when you were 3 years old, just 3 years old, is an honor and a privilege. You get to be allowed to be part of this thing that has been affecting lives for 50 years. And I love that I got to make one that made people happy.
That's great. Thank you so much, Neil.
You're so welcome. Thank you, everybody.